Hello and welcome to my monkey wall video where we are sculpting a chimp on a wall for my game Imp Night. So this is going to be one of the props. It's really going to be one of the level building tools. It's going to be like a ruins type of wall. So I'm starting off with just like some chimp reference of just like an angry chimp, and then I'm going to sculpt in like demonic stuff on the chimp to make it look cooler. Maybe it doesn't make it look cooler, but I think it does. So here's what we're going to do. So we have like a basic block out of this bad boy. I have a few different angles for reference. Now it's not going to be completely accurate because it is like a sculpted wall. I want it to be as close as I can get it though, so we're going to try to get some of these basic features of the angry chimp to be accurate. Oops, kind of like falling off the wall there. So I'm going to sculpt his mouth in first. So it looks like the mouth is actually pretty simple. It's just kind of like, I might as well use the move tool here. Just kind of like comes forward. So we can use this as a reference. And then the gums kind of like stick out, which is pretty cool. Very angry chimp situation. The nose is a little bit pushed up. It's good to have a few different angles for things you don't know how to sculpt. You should, even if you know how to sculpt them, you should still have some reference. It's usually a good idea. This like lip coming out. Let's get this all leveled away. So right now I'm just using the move brush to move some of this stuff out here. And I have perspective turned off. Like this is with perspective on. I find it easier to work with perspective off. I used to work with it only on, but it's easier to make like fine-tuned adjustments because there's no depth to like mess with your adjustments. And the depth also changes the brush. So like if I turn perspective on, start like sculpting over here, it's like harder. I think it's like less consistent. I think without perspective it's like easier to control. Alright, so let's get his mouth going. So the key thing, we kind of want to make like some of these shapes, right? So we have to drag out like this middle section too. And then this is like, pushes out a little bit. Definitely this middle section, like the nose. So I think this like overall looks like it already. Just have to make some adjustments to the proportions. So for example, like this part can go in a bit, this part can go up a bit, kind of bump it up. Kind of push this in, pinch this in a bit, push this down to kind of get this cool like U shape in their nose. Like really cool noses. We'll drag the mouth out a bit. I'll put teeth in there too. I'll just sculpt them into like this area here. So I'll just like make some space. Alright, and then this section here, I think this is a little bit too in. Needs to come out a little bit. Alright, let's check the side view again. Okay, so I think the lips aren't sticking far out enough. I can always sculpt those too. I can like sculpt those in. And we can try to straighten this out a bit. I think I'm actually going to have like demon chimp enemies. Because like chimps, when they're mad, kind of look demonic. Like look at this dude. He looks like a demon already. So it's not like a stretch for there to be chimp demons. And chimps, I mean, they're pretty smart, but they can be kind of evil. They like rip each other apart. They're pretty brutal. Pretty crazy. Just listen to Joe Rogan talk about chimps. Alright, so one thing I want to do here at this stage is kind of like integrate some kind of design. So like we have like the basic chimp structure as you do in life. So I want to kind of emphasize some things like the eyebrows. So I'm just like sculpting those in. This is actually on my Cintiq. So I have to turn my other monitor off to record it, which is kind of annoying, but what are you gonna do? I don't know why that is. I have to, like, it won't let me, I use NVIDIA Shadowplay sometimes, depending on the thing I'm recording, and it's just not letting me turn it off. Or I'm sorry, it's not letting me switch monitors for some reason. Like, I can make this the primary display. Oh, let me do this really quick. Let me push this in. It's like too close. I'm just sculpting in a little bit for some depth. So like when you actually look at this asset in game, there's depth where we want it. All right, let's kind of get like this section here going. I can just like approximate it. It doesn't have to be like super detailed. So let's just kind of, let's do like a tongue. So I'm just using the basic clay build-up brush here. That's like my favorite brush, to be honest. It's just the one I'm most familiar with. Let's get that going. Now, one thing you have to be careful of is you can go too deep. So like this is a symmetrical design. So the idea is I want to be able to like place this, and no matter which direction it's facing, it'll always look correct. It'll always look good. So you have to be careful you don't go too deep, because you can do that and then you'll get like Swiss cheese. Because the mesh is collapsing in on itself, so just be careful of that. Alright, let's get some of these, like, let's get this roof, the roof of the mouth, pushed in a bit. We can start to define, like, the gums, because I do want to have those teeth in there. I think that's pretty cool. So, like, we'll start to, like, put some gums in. It doesn't have to be like perfectly accurate, as long as it just has like some of the main teeth. I think that'll be fine. Because this isn't getting rigged and animated, this is just a chimp, right? This is just like some background thing. I'm doing this as practice, to be honest, like to force myself to sculpt some things from reference while incorporating that and incorporating them into my game. And also then like iterating on the design to like change like a basic chimp and make it like more demonic. So I already did that with the cat statue. Alright, so for demon chimp, let's see, how do we want to do this? I feel like if he had horns, kind of go like this. And then they even like stick up a bit over this. That would be kind of cool. For the flat top, I think I'm going to allow the player to run on the top of these, so I don't want to get too crazy with like stuff like this, because then you'll be stepping through it. So I kind of want to be aware of that. So I can get a little nuts, but I don't want to use like super precise collision on everything, because that's just not very efficient. So that's like another concern. So we can do something like this. So we can do it in like 2 parts too. I can have this be like the type of horns that like build up and then shoot out, like it's coming forward. So it'll have like pseudo perspective, because I don't want it to stick out too far from the wall, right? I just want it to like appear like it's kind of popping out. So like this type of horn, like if it was from profile, it'd be like here's the head, and kind of go like that type of thing. If it were to stick out. But because it's on a wall, I kind of have to flatten it, so that's like a consideration for sculpting stuff onto things. And then this will be like the highest points. And we'll blend this in better too. And then for the wall design, this area has a lot of stuff like this, where it just kind of like blends in. Like it's just like, there's like these sections. And I can do something like this, where I like sculpt in around this for some depth. Because this stuff, like when you use materials, it looks so much better when you have like depth in random places, especially if you can add it for free. We'll actually add some more mass here. Give him some little, give him some more mouth. Boy, you got a knife. Oh, whoops. I just realized I'm not sculpting a symmetry. So, check this out. There you go. So what I did is I mirrored it to the other side and then mirror and welded. So it just duplicated it. So I flipped it and then duplicated it because I just realized I had symmetry off. Now for this design, you don't need symmetry. I mean, if you're doing a face, you should probably do symmetry because it's easier to start symmetrical and then to add asymmetry for like fine details, because no face is perfectly symmetrical, but it's more symmetrical than asymmetrical. So you're literally better off, in most cases, starting off with symmetry and then adjusting as needed. So one thing I'm noticing is, like, I think if we emphasize like this, like to make something look demonic, you can always just like emphasize like muscle groups and stuff. Let's fix this mouth a little bit, because right now it's just kind of all over the place. I think I actually might reduce the resolution to actually lose some detail on purpose. So like instead of smoothing things, I'm going to do that again. Because like it's getting too messy. Alright. And then we can just kind of... Oh wait, I actually have to do something. There we go. That's a little bit too much. Let's do like 120. I turned on dynamic resolution. Alright. Alright, that's better. That's better. Alright, so that's... Because I don't want to smooth everything out, but by doing this I basically smoothed it out. So I smoothed it out in a controllable way. Alright, let's go back to... Then we can go back to high res if we want. I can stay in like lower res for a while. That's usually the better idea. I shouldn't have been so high so early, because I'm still blocking out. Blocking out is when you're working through the design. Like you still have like basic, like huge structural changes that are going to happen. Let's see. Let's get like the general details, what we want them to be, and then we'll start with the more detailed sections. Alright, need to get some things in here, some forms in there. So you can always zoom in on parts to like see what it looks like if it's like too far away. So let's do that. Just kind of build this up. I'm probably going to place a lot of the emphasis like on this section here, and then like it's going to get less detailed as it fades into the wall. Because if everything is super detailed, it's like hard to like get attention. Like it's hard to focus your attention on a specific thing. So we're gonna try just having a few things detailed. Mostly like the jaw and the face and like the nose and stuff. I want that to look like really cool. To stand out. We got like these like pads here. So this is my first sculpting video where I'm like sculpting a thing in real time and like talking about it. The reason I haven't been doing it is because I just couldn't get it set up in a way where it was like easy to do, like to talk and sculpt. But I think this setup works. Let's make this smaller. I gotta push this back to get it out of the way so I can sculpt in if I want to sculpt this deeper. Alright, and then they have like this thing here, kind of goes up. And I can always add detail lines in, so like that's something I can do. I can always do that later. And then this part scrunches up around here. They have very like detailed faces, which I like. Sometimes it's easier to sculpt things when they're more detailed. I don't know why that is. Like when there's like more landmarks. I think that has to do with landmarks, because like when something is like super simple and there's like not much to it, and it's like really smooth, I feel like it's harder. I keep like sculpting these things. This is fine if I accidentally sculpt over here, because like this is gonna be, I still need to design this, so like that's gonna get fixed, so don't worry about that. I know you were worrying about it, so just don't. It's fine. All right. I'm gonna try to blend this. I like to blend things with like sculpting brushes instead of just like blending or like smoothing or something, because then you can build up the mass in a more interesting way. Alright, let's get some of these in there. This kind of connects to the nose. Then we have these like strands of like flesh, like in their face, that kind of like bunches up around the nose. So I need to bring these down. And then I can always like take away form too if I need to like push them down. But I have a brush that I'm going to be using for detailing these sections pretty soon. Then they have like these middle sections. Kind of comes to like a triangular point here. So I can start doing this a little bit, just to like get these forms defined. Zoom out a bit. Now these, for the eyes, I'm just going to have holes because it's a statue, and I want it to appear creepy. But if I were to do eyes, I'd actually put like things in there, or I'd just like sculpt in like an eyeball like that type of thing, and then just get it looking right. But instead they'll just kind of be like eye cavities. And then if we want to make it look more demonic, I can like pull, I can do some stuff. I mean, just sculpting in like the eyelids, like having like pretty dramatic like facial features tends to make things look demonic. So for example, if I want this brow to be more aggressive, I can kind of like start sculpting it closer together. And then have it like come down a bit. If you see me do this, that means I'm resetting the resolution using Dynamesh over here. What Dynamesh does is it lets you take like a certain topology, like let's say we sculpt this, then we Dynamesh. It just remeshes the object in real time. And then you set the resolution. The resolution is how dense it is. So if you're blocking out, you don't want it to be too dense, because then it can be hard to work with, and there's no reason for like high density until you're out of blockout, because you're not going to be detailing during blockout, because like if I start adding all these cool details, I need to Dynamesh at a higher res, which is, you can do that and it's fine, but there's like a limitation. Like I don't think you can go over like 4 million polys. Alright, let's get this going in. And I am going to do like some big details here, like to get like this brow going in. You can like do one of these type of thing. And then kind of, oops. Sometimes I accidentally hit V, which changes the thing. Let's get these going in there. Alright, let's see if that worked. And we can kind of do like something like this. I can flatten this for now. Just kind of like separate it. Alright, so now he's like this super dramatic brow. It's maybe a bit too much, but we can always adjust it. And then let's tie in. Let's get him some eyelids. Let's like just kind of go through it. Probably just do this. Okay. All right. All right, he's got some eyelids. Okay, and then for his face, I did add this, which kind of makes him look more comical. Like this detail here, so we're going to tone that down. Because that's not present in the actual chimps. I'm just like experimenting to try to make it look like less like a chimp and more like a demon chimp type thing. So let's see. Other thing too is like the eyes themselves. So like if you bring this brow down, I think the problem right now is that this isn't blended well. Okay, there's like these details here, like it kind of goes into this. So I'm like missing that, so it's just kind of like this huge brow. And I want to break this brow up too, it's like kind of... Just put some lines through it. It's kind of crazy. I'm not used to using my pen, like the little button on my pen to rotate, but it seems like it's pretty easy to use, so I might as well do that. The actual stylus I'm using. One thing I like to do with the damn standard brush is to like do this. To like start cutting in and blending shapes together, like to blending forms together. Because you have pretty good control over it. Let's get some of this going on. Maybe not as much, because you can see like it kind of blends in there, so let's kind of get that sculpted in there. Get this bad boy sculpted in there. Kind of have that come out a bit. Oops. Alright, then there's other details too, like these ones. It's like some details like here. Alright, so... Alright, my chimp's nose is definitely not smushed together enough, so let's do that. Let's fix that first. I'm noticing this isn't as bulky as it should be. Some of this stuff looks decent. This could probably come in more. Face kind of comes to a point. I'm gonna smush the face in a bit. Just a little bit. I want to have like the chimp outline, like the face. Like they kind of have this like flat top parts. Let's do this. Let's fix this up. Using that as a reference. I think the brow is too big actually. It's like too large. It's too large and too in charge. Like adjust it. Just trying to get like the proportionality to look a little bit better. Probably push this down. I'm not a huge fan of this section right here, so I'm gonna adjust that. Okay, I'm gonna start sculpting in. Just to like take away from this up here. I'm gonna let that be higher. So we'll kind of build into it. They seem to have, like this one has like a, yeah, I see what's going on. This needs to be more filled in here. Yeah, and this needs to be more integrated. Yeah, you can see it right here. This is like the perfect shot to show what's like why this looks weird. It needs to blend better. It needs to essentially be going like, it's almost like a connected piece. So I can just kind of sculpt this in. And then it needs to blend into this better. So like you have all these little pads. This is just one of them, right? Because their face is like really, you know, it's their skin, so. The chimp skin. Flatten some of this, or not. There we go. Alright, that's starting to look better. My voice cracked. It's starting to look better. Still some ways to go. Alright, so we want to kind of blend this. We want to get these little things in here. This doesn't need to be as extreme. Yeah, it'll just kind of blend it in just from doing Dynamesh there. Then for this section, kind of get this going. So I'm sculpting kind of like in the direction these like wrap around it while building up the form. And then this part up here is actually blended more than I realized. We can kind of build this up a little bit. So if I zoom in, it actually looks like there's parts that kind of like clump up here, like it's kind of like little like sections of skin and fat or something. So that's something to do in detailing. But I don't know that the statue needs to be that detailed, to be honest. I think we're getting pretty close to what we want. Because it's or the statue, this wall. Let's see. I think the nose is too big. Or maybe let's push that down a little bit. This isn't pushed out enough. We can push this in. Then for this section, kind of goes like that. So it kind of sticks out to the sides more. And then this is way too small. Yeah, let's turn on perspective just to see what it looks like. Okay. Now I'll probably come back to this and look it over again after I haven't looked at it for a while. It's usually a good idea. But for now, let's get the teeth going. So for the teeth, I think I'm going to push the resolution up just a little bit. Not too much more. Oh, it looks like I just doubled it. So I guess I kind of lied there. Alright, so we'll do this. So what I did is I just made a selection. And drag the teeth down. Now one thing to note about this, these teeth are connected, which is fine because it's, I don't, like if it was an actual enemy, like a creature, I wouldn't have them connected, but I think it's fine for now. Dynamesh. And drag the fangs. And I can always sculpt in for some gums, so like, let's do something like this. Like sculpt in this. So I'm trying to sculpt around where the lips would be, type of thing. You can like start refining the teeth too. Oops. Just flatten here. Alright, and then their fangs. Like fangs tend to kind of jut forward. Like curve towards. So we'll kind of have them be a little bit crazy there. Alright, let's try to get some gums in. Let's take a good nice look at these gums. So one thing you can do with gums is you can always sculpt into the teeth and then like fill in where the teeth connect. So for example, like let's say we want the gums to be here. Kind of just like do it like this. This is like the quick and dirty way. Like if you do actual teeth, you should have it be like actual teeth, like pieces of teeth model or whatever, you know, like an actual mesh, not just like one solid piece. Right, let's do that. Then you can just kind of build it up. Give him nice healthy gums, so he'll pass his dentist exam. That's what he wants. Even though he is, in fact, a wall. The chimpanzee in question is a wall, but he'll still pass his oral exam. Which is good. He'll be nice and healthy. Alright, and then for these front teeth, similar to human teeth, they're kind of just like, you know, big blocks. Let's make sure we got the curvature on these right, like they curve and look at like you would expect. Alright, I think that's good for now. I can do, maybe push this up a little bit. And then for this part back here, for like the mouth, we'll look at the one big mouth. This one. This is a good mouth. Okay, I'm noticing their fangs actually stick out like this way, so that's interesting. So I'll adjust that. So we might be getting danger close to pushing through the other side, so let's kind of not go too wild with the depth on this. It is just a wall, right? Like it still needs to be a wall. It's a chimp wall, but it's still a wall. Now the player won't ever see this part of the thing, but I still like to do this just for my own mental sanity. Like, alright, so this is the roof of the mouth. Because it's a top-down game, so they're never going to see it. Let's put this in there. Clean out this mouth a little bit. Then for the tongue... Alright, so I do want it to look kind of like how it looks, so... And what that means is I want it to actually look like it. Let's kind of get it somewhat close. It'll be the middle of the tongue. Whoa, what the fuck was that? I have no idea what I just did. That wasn't good. Alright. Let's push these teeth out a little bit. Okay, so that's like the overall vibe of the thing, right? We still need the bottom teeth, which I'll just do like the jaw, or like the, similar to this one, just do the 6 front teeth. Alright, let's get... So we'll do the same thing as we did before. We'll just kind of do a selection. You might say a natural selection. It's a Charles Darwin joke for you there. Alright. Alright, so let's do the same thing. These here teeth. Straighten out these bottom ones. And then these are already pretty close to what we want. Just need to stick forward now. I have to like rotate the teeth. Their jaw is very like crazy looking. Like their teeth are no joke. Yeah, we gotta push these bad boys forward. Because like if you look at it from the side, it like sticks out like really far. Mine don't stick out enough, but I guess it depends on how much they're like sticking their gums out, because like this is a different face than, well, maybe it's similar. This one's teeth are more messed up though. Alright, let's stick these bad boys out. Trying to move the base a little bit. Alright. Okay, I think that looks good so far. It's like a basic outline, and we have like some of the demonic elements added, like the horns and stuff. I'll probably go through and like change some details in the face, but overall, some things I do notice. Gotta get that brow. Seems like they have an indentation here. And there's maybe a little bit more mass over here. Trying to like give them they have like a roundness, you know, to their face. I think this part looks kind of weird. Let's evaluate. Yeah, this part has, I think it just sticks out too far. And then this part, this stuff needs blended better. But one thing I could do that would be cool is if I like broke apart its face with like strands of like exposed muscle or something. Now this is going to be like not anatomically accurate, like correct, like the stuff, these details I'm adding right now, but I think it can make it look cool. And that's like, you know, it just has to look like it could be real type of thing. All right, let's get this pushed in. Then we can do like that. So these grooves are just for like the material to have like a place to break up the shape, so it's not just like boring when you're looking at it in the game. Let's put that in. All right. Okay, I do like how this part sticks up here. That's interesting. So it kind of like goes into the nose more. Yeah, that looks more ferocious. Look at that. There's little subtle details. See, I'm not an animator, so like working with faces in this way isn't something I'm used to doing. It's like out of my comfort zone for sure. But, you know, in order to improve, you basically have to constantly pull yourself out of your comfort zone. So that's what I'm looking to do with like things like this. let's get like some of these going. I still have a lot of characters to make for this game. I still have like an insane amount of props, which I actually, that might seem like it's like a bad thing, like it might be like, oh my god, it's so much work, but it's actually like, I actually like it. I actually enjoy the fact that I have to make like hundreds of things, because it's like, I don't look at it as work or as this thing that's gonna like bog me down or slow me down. It's like, if you want to improve at art anyways, you have to do like, you know, hundreds to thousands of pieces of art. You have to make like an insane amount of things. So like to be forced to do that for a game that I want to make, that I've wanted to make for a while, is not a bad thing. And it's actually relaxing. Like right now I'm like pretty chill. I'm not like, oh my god, I have to make like 500 things. It's more like, today I'll make a monkey. Today I get to make something, right? Like that's my mindset for this stuff. Not like I'm tricking myself. Like I did like a cat statue the other day for the game. I did like a cool demon statue. Every single thing is like an opportunity to improve. So that's the way I'm like looking at things in general. Like, because like, if you get stressed out by the scale of a project, you know, it can weigh you down, but you have to just chip away at it. You can't look at it like the whole, you can't think of it like, oh, I have to get like 10,000 things done today, because you don't have enough time to do that. You have just enough time to do a little bit. And this is actually pretty fun, so so find a thing you enjoy and do that. Alright, let's see where we're at. Trying to get these eyes, getting in there. Oh yeah, I can just hold on the middle click. But yeah, it's exciting though. Like making all these assets. It's actually fun. It's really fun because you know you can always get better. So even if you like sculpt like 1,000 mushrooms, for example, like you can still improve at sculpting mushrooms. So it's kind of like this. It's like the, I don't know. I think art has like the best. It's like the best thing for, or at least one of the best things for people who are obsessed with getting good at something, because its skill ceiling is infinite. And you can just keep improving, and there's no limit as to how much you can improve. So it's basically the ultimate game. But there's other things like that, right? Like you could always become the best. You could always keep improving at being a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. Like you can keep improving at everything. So it's true of like any profession. So let's get these teeth nice and... Alright, now I am going to up the resolution a bit, because I think we're... I mean, I guess I could still leave it lower to block out the rest of the thing, which is a good idea. So I should do that first. Right now I'm just trying to get some nice sharp edges on these teeth. But I'm almost ready to go into detailing, I think. I think this is looking... Let's take another look at just like the face. And I'm going to kind of stay... like move far back. I think it's not as wide as it could be, just like slightly. The horns, I mean, one thing I do see. One thing I do see, you can kind of see it here. There's not enough mass. Like this was actually fine being as wide as it was. So we'll kind of sculpt this in. I'm kind of looking at this. There's like this hump, right? Like this, it's literally the skull, right? So like when you're looking at these things, it's not just like random. It's like it's there for a reason. It's like this, the chimp's skull. So you got a skull, which is good because you wouldn't be able to make this face without it. I'm like having way too much fun, just like goofing off. You got the skull. Maybe its mouth is too long, actually. There's definitely a few things that are like slightly off proportionally. Yeah, I think that's better. And for like this, it should be like that type of thing. Now the eyes are too, like these, the chimp's eyes in this case, they kind of go down. Like they don't, they're more like that. And what else? The other thing too is there's like fur being blended in. So if we define this, like if we add the fur, it kind of has like, his face is almost like a triangle. And then if we were to kind of you know, outline where the fur starts, it's kind of like this type of thing. Yeah, because there's the skin and then there's the fur, and the fur kind of comes in like there. And the skin continues like up here. Okay, that's looking a little bit better, I think. Now you might be saying, why don't you just make a wall? Why make a chimp on a wall? Well, a chimp on a wall is cooler, and if you're trying to sell a game and you don't have cool stuff in that game for people to look at, they're going to be like, where's all the cool stuff? And you're going to be like, well, I could have made a chimp on a wall, but instead I just made a wall, so so I'd rather have cat statues, chimp walls, cool shit. It takes place in like a demonic realm, right? It's not hell, because I think like too many games are like, this game takes place in hell, where you kill the demons. Instead, it's like, no, that's like a fantasy world that just happens to have like demons in it, and you play as like imps fighting demons. Not to say that the imps are objectively good either. The demons aren't evil in this case. It's basically like the Cold War in the game, but with like fantasy magic and shit. So like there's like two primary nations that are like at odds with each other, kind of like United States and Russia. And in this case, like the imps aren't necessarily Russia or the United States, but that's just like the situation they're in. And then the player has to like try to help manage that situation. So it should be interesting. It'll be a different plot. I don't think there's I mean, there's definitely plots where it's like the end of the world is going to happen, but in this case, for Imp Knight, it's not like they're evil. They're not trying to end the world. Like, the antagonist isn't even trying to end the world, and they're not evil. They're actually just like defending their sovereignty, essentially. And the imps aren't evil either. It's actually going to be rooted in like a misunderstanding. But I'm going to take some risks with the plot. I'm gonna try some different things. So we'll see how it pans out. But it's not going to be like a cookie cutter RPG where you save the world. I'll say that. It's gonna be a little bit more real and darker, and not like just like crazy things happening, but like, you know, what would happen if some shit went south type of thing. But I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to stop talking about the plot. Alright, I think we're getting somewhere. I think this is starting to look good, in my opinion. Obviously, if you're a much better artist than myself, or if you just don't like this, that's fine. There's a ton of like master artists just hanging around that just do art all day, and they've been doing it for years. And they're pretty cool. I'm actually being serious. They're pretty cool. It's cool to see good art. I would still say I'm kind of like a beginner in 3D. I'm certainly not an expert or a master, but I'd say I'm a decent beginner. I'm not like top tier, you know, I'm not near like the top 10% or something of like artists. I want to get there eventually though. I'd like to be a master. That's like one of my goals in life, is to become a master 3D artist. So this is just like a stepping stone to getting there. And the game itself isn't a stepping stone. Like, I want to make 3D games. The reason for that is I've always wanted to make like stories and games, and like test ideas. So it's like kind of like the ultimate platform to do that. And the better you get at 3D, the more interesting shit you can do with it. So starting off with a kind of simple top-down game but it's gonna have a high skill ceiling. It's gonna be an easy to understand but hard to master game, and I think that's missing in games these days. And I also want a kind of original, compelling plot where it's not like cookie cutter, and you're just like the hero and the bad guy's like comically stupid and evil. It's just like but people aren't like that, right? Like no one thinks they're evil. Everyone thinks the thing they're doing is the right thing. And one thing that they did really well in Half-Life is the antagonist of Half-Life thinks he's just doing the right thing, and he's not evil. And I think that's how you write good characters for antagonists. They should be relatable. Their cause should make sense. It shouldn't just be like, this guy's comically evil, because like that like in real life that almost never happens, right? Like World War II, everyone loves World War II because it was like one of the rare cases of just like straight up good versus evil. But like most war is like so weird. It's not like clear what's happening and why it's happening, and it's kind of like vague and strange, and it's uncomfortable. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, we're fighting the bad guys. Like in a lot of cases, wars are like, you know, there's like political motivations, there's a lot of factors, there's a lot of things going on that people aren't aware of, including myself, of course. You know, I get the same information you get, right? So there's a lot of things I don't know, just like you. So we're all kind of blind in this way to like what's actually happening on the world stage. A lot of crazy things are happening though. Like the stuff with China shooting missiles at Taiwan. That's not good. That's that is very not good. And all the shit with Ukraine. That's terrible. You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. Not that it has ever been. I mean, honestly, the world is like this wall, right? Life is like this wall that I'm sculpting. It's an angry chimp. It's like I think people like to think the world is nice and safe and chill, but there's always been war. There's always been conflict. There's always been like anger and rage. Now that's not the default, and that shouldn't be the default, but that's like, you know, a kind of state of nature. Nature is hostile and aggressive. I think we forget that living in like, you know, society, comfortably sculpting in Zbrush when nothing bad is happening. It's like, oh yeah, life is great, you know. But then like if some shit hits the fan, then it's like, you know, it's great that I can sculpt in Zbrush, but I probably should have joined the military in my early 20s to at least. I mean, I know how to use firearms and stuff, but I don't know. I think it's essential for people to know how to defend themselves. Because if things go bad, like that's like, what are you gonna do, right? Like this chimp right here, this dude's ready to fuck something up. Like he's not gonna just let you take his bananas. You wouldn't dare take this chimp's bananas. He would kill you. These dudes rip faces off. They're brutal. Chimps do not mess around. These are tough dudes. They're strong as hell too. They have like no fine motor skills. I mean, they do to some degree, but like their movements are like crazy and they're just like nuts. But they're also really smart too, so it's kind of interesting. They're like this mix of like intelligence and just pure straight up savagery, which is kind of how humans started out. So I think they're in the Stone Age right now where they're using tools. So, you know, maybe we'll have talking chimps at some point. That'd actually be sick. Imagine talking to a chimp. That'd be pretty sick. Be like, hey, what's up? Like an animal talking to you? I mean, technically we're animals, but like a thing that hadn't talked before, all of a sudden being like, yo, what's up? I know they can do like sign language, like gorillas can or some shit, which is pretty cool. Alright, I actually like this result. I think it's turning out pretty well. I'm not just saying that to like stroke my own ego. I usually am like hypercritical of everything I do. Trying to look for like little mistakes. I think overall it does look like a chimp. It does look like a demon. So we've accomplished our primary goals of making demon chimp. Oops. Let's not make that red. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so from here, so you can turn on perspective if you want to look at it, because this is how it'll look like in a 3D environment. So like kind of top down, you're kind of seeing this sort of situation. It's like 45-degree angle. So it's something to consider. But straight on, I think it looks pretty good. And then for the sides and stuff, we're just going to kind of sculpt into this a little bit. Kind of in the theme of the other assets for this area, so they kind of have like these details in them. I think I want to do a bear for the next one. I think that'd be cool. Actually, a demonic bear enemy would be sick. I think I might make that. Like an actual straight up demonic like grizzly bear type of thing. The grizzly bear would be like the base reference, but then I would like add stuff to it. Right now I'm just like building this up to like kind of look like it's weathered and organic, you know, even though it's a wall. Because this is a ruinous wall. Like it's been ruined, you know, it's like old type of thing. Alright, let's get some BDS going on. BDS is the key combination for damn standard, if you're wondering what the hell that means. Alright, let's get some of these big details in there. Just gonna breaking this face up. And then for like the fur stuff, I can kind of do like this, kind of like imply fur. Because I'm not gonna render fur on a statue, or on a wall. It doesn't make any sense. But I could do like sculpting in, like stuff like this. Ooh. Sometimes the Cintiq bugs out and like shoots a line over all your art. But yeah, you can do like kind of. Oh, it did it again, didn't it? Or did it do it a while ago? I see a line like right there. Yeah, it's a bug. I don't know why they haven't fixed it. It's a $2,000 product. A Cintiq, like this is the Cintiq Pro 24-inch. It's $2,000, and it like randomly a line will shoot across. They haven't fixed it somehow. It's crazy, but I mean it's a hell of a product. Like if you're gonna get into sculpting, like get like a part-time job and save up some money and buy the damn thing. Like. It's worth it, I think. Now there's way cheaper solutions, but honestly, this is the nicest thing I've ever used for art. I have an arm for it. It like floats off my desk. Super ergonomic. You're looking right at where you're sculpting. It feels very natural, especially if you're used to drawing with like traditional stuff. It feels like right at home. And I'm gonna be honest about like mobile solutions right now for art. Like an iPad for art, like you can do it and it can be viable, but having a 24-inch screen and like an office chair that's rated for like over 8 hours of use, plus like the screen itself is like floating and it's like at your eye level, is infinitely better than any tablet solution. And you can't compete with it. Keyboard shortcuts too, like a lot of these things don't have keyboard shortcuts, like the stuff on like iPad and whatever. Keyboard shortcuts are like a lifesaver. They're a godsend. You need them. Being able to like rapidly control Z, having the processing power. Of like an actual computer. Like, there's definitely an upside to taking your work with you if you need to travel a lot. But if you don't need to travel, you have to have a good at-home setup, I think. You need it. Because, like, if you're doing, like, a mobile setup, you don't know when you're gonna, like, where you're gonna be sitting down and what the chair or the desk is gonna be like. And, you know, there's some solutions where you can get, like, an arm that mounts generically to kind of elevate your iPad. That can be viable, but the chair situation, if you're like on the go, is not going to be ideal. So there's that. Let's see. Let's get some of these bad boys getting in there. Just trying to define some of these cool details here. I like to define edges with BDS. It's like my favorite thing to do. Let's get these little details in there. It's like push off little sections. So, like in this part, I'm like making up details for like the demonic thing. Oops, let's be. Oh, that was like an awkward angle there. Alright, I think we're gonna do this right. There we go. It can be hard to do that sometimes, but we got it. We got it. Let's get some of this going on. Break this up a bit, break that up a bit. And then a cool thing you can do with BDS is you can like outline folds so they stick out more, like that. So you can kind of add more structure in a subtle way. Now this doesn't have to wrap around an eyeball, so this isn't going to be like perfect. And that's fine, because it's just a wall. Like if it was a creature, I would be spending more time on the anatomy for sure. But because it is in fact a sculpture of a thing in a wall, it's not, you know, it's not getting rigged, it's not getting animated. It should be okay. I think it's detailed enough for what we need it for. Kind of just blend this in a bit. Alright, and then I need to go through and finish up some of these other sections. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful. And I'll see you in the next sculpting video. So now I'm all about that art, boy.